but not everything always goes according to plan in a match of Magic. And when your opponent maybe has to mulligan more than they like or the draw steps are a little bit unfavorable, one thing that Jose has in his favor is his deck kills really, really fast.
All right, so what's the tipping point here for this game for people to look out for at home? What's going to change it in one way or the other?
Well, for me, I'm going to focus on who I think is going to win the match, which is Adrian. And if he's able to play a turn where he has access to 3 green mana up and passes the turn, that's really, really bad news for our Ensoul artifact player, because that means that an Archdruid's Charm is almost certainly coming, and again, it's either searching for a Lotus Field or it is exiling an artifact or an enchantment. So if you kind of see that 3rd green source go, it's probably not nothing.
Yeah.
So I would keep my eyes up for that.
Okay, great tip. Well, it's flowers versus scissors here. Marshall and Monty are going to take it away for round number 5.
Everybody loves the acclaim.
Like, is this scissors or flowers? Or I think I'll take scissors normally in that matchup, and that is what we're looking at here.
I'm going to go with rock.
Yeah, you're going to go with rock, which is going to be the Lotus Field at this point. Yeah, I mean, is there, you know, Maria and Cedric were talking about, is there like an inflection point, you know, where you can see, okay, of course, if a combo deck starts going off, we know that, you know, they've done their thing. But what about for the Ensoul deck?
Both of these decks are almost not interacting with each other. Yes, the Ensoul deck has some removal. Yes, the Lotus Field deck has Archdruid's Charm. The Ensoul deck has 1 Spell Pierce. But for the most part, we're dealing with ships passing in the night. And Lotus Field, average game plan, it's a turn 4, turn 5 win deck. Ensoul, it's not really a turn 3, 4 deck. It is also a turn 4, 5, 6 deck if things are going really poorly. So if neither player has interaction, both players could just do their thing and win. But the speed is about the same.
Okay, let's see what happens here. Combo versus combo aggro, if you will. You see Jose on the top, Adrian down on the bottom part of your screen, and we are underway. Wow, good start already.
I saw a charm as well, Marshall. This is
this
is an incredible start from Adrian.
Arboreal Grazer off of Beseiju, and that's going to get a breeding pool into play as well.
This Ensoul's
this is
goal,
on the play, by the way.
Yeah, this Ensoul's deck's goal is to be attacking for 5 on turn 2. They have a lot of ways to do it, right? They have the Combat Courier, they have the Spyglass Siren, and they have the Voldaren Epicure. So those all make artifacts that you could be ensouling to get in on turn 2. But once you have that, if your opponent's already established, if that Archdruid's Charm is there, you're really far behind.
Yeah, and it could be, let's see if Adrian has the untapped green source. No. Looks like a Vizier of Tumbling Sands here for Adrian.
Yeah, so that will be a green source next turn.
Oh, there's the Ensoul. So there's your perfect draw that you described.
I think if you're Adrian, you just block with the Arboreal Grazer here. Say, I don't really want to take 5. I can charm this the next turn if I want. The bigger question is Adrian even interested in charming that? Or is he going to just use the charm to go get a Lotus Field and try to end this game pretty quickly?
What a beautiful position to be in if you're Adrian. As he can really kind of control his own destiny here, decide I can play a defensive game and go a little longer, or let's just get this rolling.
It really depends what the rest of the hand is. If there's multiple copies of Hidden Strings, or ideally pour over the pages there, then Adrian may want to say, I'm going to use my life total as a resource and use this charm to go set up for my Lotus Field combo. But if you're a bit slower, if you're hesitating, then definitely use that as removal.
Okay, he's going to go for Impulse here. He did chump block with the Grazer, by the way, so his life total is still at 19 after taking 1 from the Siren.
Otawara Ultimatum among the choices. Otawara not ideal here because he can't cast the Archdruid's Charm off of it.
Okay, he's going to play a tap Botanical Sanctum and pass the turn back over to Jose, who's had a basically perfect start.
1-2. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Now, if Jose can go Gleeful Demolition on my Darksteel Citadel.
Oh, how about just double scissors?
Okay, now we're cooking.
Because this is an attack for 11 on turn 3.
This is a big attack.
And it looks like it's all getting in as well, so Adrian's going to drop down from 19 to 8. But this is a big turn now from Adrian. He has 5, perhaps 6 mana available this turn.
Yeah.
We'll probably see some fireworks.
I mean, this is the cost of Adrian choosing to take the turn potentially off by using Impulse last turn and not leaving up the ability to use that Archdruid's Charm. If something like this happens and the previously healthy 19 life is gone. Now, against a deck that has Shrapnel Blast, against a deck that has Bushwhacker, you're in a really precarious position if you're Adrian.
So let's see what Adrian comes up with. Are there combo possibilities? Looks like he's talking to himself. That's not good if you're sitting in Jose's seat.
Yeah, Adrian definitely going through the different possibilities. Getting a Lotus Field into the battlefield tapped, not the end of the world because you have things like Hidden Strings. So Adrian can certainly start going off from a position that doesn't have it, and that is step one, is getting a Lotus Field onto the battlefield.
Blue and green.
And he's going to float blue and green mana before sacrificing the lands to the field. You see the Vizier is there as well. So big mana potential this turn for Adrian.
Yeah, Jose doing the right thing, confirming what colors do you have floating. Adrian has the ability to use that Thespian stage with the floating mana to copy the Lotus Field. Then the Vizier could untap one of them. That would give him access to 3 more mana, but not enough for a pour over the pages directly. So would need at least Hidden Strings to start things off, or maybe a cycle of a second Vizier of Tumbling Sands if he has access to it.
How scared is Adrian to pass the turn here?
Extremely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks really scary from where I'm sitting.
Passing is essentially not an option. If you charm one of those, you're still very likely to die to a Shrapnel Blast or something. Jose's deck has quite a decent amount of reach. All right, now Hidden Strings. Now Adrian is pretty comfortable, assuming his hand has anything other than the Archdruid's Charm.
Okay, so just the ability to dig or see a bunch of cards, and they could just blow this game wide open. There's the Hidden Strings. And you saw he used it on the Lotus Field down below, as well as the Vizier.
Yeah, and perhaps the least used mode of Archdruid's Charm in this deck is the searching for a creature. Okay, the definitely least used is the fight.
Okay.
But searching for a creature, not something you do often. But if you go find your Leer out of your deck, that can also be huge.
You can see the graveyard already looking pretty good there for Adrian.
So I get 3 green, 2
Dark
blue.
Petition with Spell Mastery online thanks to the Hidden Strings and the Impulse, so making 3 black mana off of it. And Emergent Ultimatum, usually, Marshall, when this is cast, that is GG. It's pretty close to impossible for Jose to come back. What Adrian's going to be doing here is searching for the second Dark Petition that he has in his deck, in addition to Leer and Omniscience. Now, normally, what you have to do as Jose is give Leer plus Omniscience, because Omniscience only casts free spells from the hand. So if Jose isn't able to do anything from that spot because everything is in the graveyard, then you're good. This pour over the pages, Dark Petition plus Omniscience. So now even Leer isn't in the consideration. So you put the Dark Petition in the yard and say, I hope that with these 2 cards that you draw, you're not able to do anything else.
Okay.
That's not usually how it works out. Not really. 3 cards, excuse me.
There's hope, though. Okay, so Omniscience hits. That lets you cast anything for free, and it's going to be pour over the pages, untap.
Yeah, and we know that there is still an Archdruid's Charm in the hand for Adrian. So that can go get the Leer. The Leer gets cast for free. Then all the things in the graveyard start being flashed back.
So the result.
Oh yeah, I have to discard.
You have to discard, yeah.
Okay.
Cast charm.
Yeah.
Making sure you're not
Yeah,
missing it.
Jose's like, hey, let's clean it up here now.
Yeah, let's make sure.
You didn't discard yet to pour. Okay, and it's going to be Fae of Wishes.
Yep. Fae of Wishes gives you access to your entire sideboard. That includes Approach of the Second Sun, which is typically one of the easiest ways for this deck to close out the game. If you have access to another Emergent Ultimatum. Really powerful. Again, Leer can be included in the pile here. And really, this is the type of situation where all roads are going to lead to a win for Adrian. Emergent Ultimatum can go get another pour over the pages, can go get Leer, and just continue going off. That looks like pour Dark Petition and Leer.
Okay.
which means whatever you do here, if you give Adrian Pour plus Dark Petition, Adrian goes and gets Leer, right? If you give him Leer plus Dark Petition, can go get a Pour. So every pile here is really bad.
We're getting too deterministic here.
Yes, exactly.
Working our way forward.
Right.
Got to be frustrating for Jose. I mean, look at that draw.
This was, you know, when we say Lotus Field is a turn 4-5 deck, that's not Lotus Field's best draws. This is the average case scenario is turn 4-5. If you're not killing turn 5, that is a bad game from Lotus Field.
I see.
So, unfortunately, this is how things play out an average amount of time, especially when you're Jose on a deck that doesn't interact at least game 1. There's some counter spells to come in game 2, but here, all you can do if you don't have that 1 copy of Spell Pierce is just watch.
It's just sit there and watch the show and gently remind your opponent to do things every once in a while.
Yeah, 7 mana now floating. And essentially, the point we're going to get to is Adrian is going to be able to cast this Fae of Wishes, then return it to hand, and then go in the sideboard again. Now you get approach. You have access to all of the draw spells and the tutors in the graveyard. Find the approach again, cast it again. That ends the game. So the next few actions here should close out the game here from Adrian.
What do you think Jose needs to see before he says, okay, I've had enough?
I think it really depends on the matchup.
Yeah.
Here, if you show the approach, it's over. Part of it is just, you know, this specific matchup of Ensoul against Lotus Field, not going to go time, not going to go that long. So make sure your opponent shows you, especially this early in Pioneer, that they know how their combo works. Because sometimes they just don't.
Yeah.
There are stories of players going entire tournaments without actually having to execute their combo because they count on their opponents conceding after being shown some cards.
Yeah, there's old school tales of people either building decks without a win condition, hoping people concede, or boarding them out.
Tall tales at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like 90s. You know, like those are some old school stories there. All right, another good start here for Jose. He has career and he has the scissors to Ensoul it up.
Turn 1, turn 2. This is the curve from Ensoul. Much slower start from Adrian. Didn't have the Arboreal Grazer, but this is a bit of sideboard tech in the Voyaging Satyr coming out of the Lotus Field deck. When you need to speed up a bit, when you are in these matchups where you and your opponent are both trying to go fast, Voyaging Satyr can come in and speed up the Lotus Field deck a bit to keep up.
Oh, that's cool. And of course, when you're on the draw, you would like a little bit of speed. There we go. But still, half of his life total's gone for Adrian. And now Jose passes the turn back. Interesting. 2 mana available.
Post board, that represents negate, 1 copy, 3 copies of Spell Pierce. So those are the things that have to be at the back of your mind if you're in Adrian's seat. I think if Jose had a removal spell, let's say a Torch the Tower, not really ideal in the format, but if you have one, you're going to fire that off. You don't want Adrian to have access to additional mana here with the Voyaging Satyr.
Okay, well, it looks like Adrian's going to cycle Vizier of Tumbling Sands. That's going to get around any counters, but also not really move him forward particularly. And he's under pressure. He's taking 5 a turn.
Yeah, you would have loved to have that Boseiju in hand, ideally, to use in this situation.
It does probably tell Jose something about the mana situation for Adrian.
It does. It's not really a land you want to be playing in the matchup.
He does have 3 copies of it, so there's always a chance that one's in hand and one just gets played. Now he's got Breeding Pool, and he's going to pass the turn back over. Jose, nothing to point any spells at there, so he's just going to draw his card for the turn.
And we're in the territory of Adrian having to chump block with the Satyr. Going to 5 against a deck that plays 4 copies of Shrapnel Blast is really scary territory.
It's going to be Voldaren Epicure to start off this turn, though. He gets a blood token as well. Looks like he's going to go
Bushwhacker
with a Goblin Bushwhacker here. no
Yes.
kicker.
6, 3.
Oh, he has surge.
Yeah, he
Sure.
is counting the damage. Now you have to block. Or
Ooh.
do you have a Beseju? Okay.
Okay, so he actually did have the second copy. Again, he's got 3 of them.
Yeah, but there is an issue here, which is those creatures are still unblocked. And that means that is 4 damage coming on through, plus the one that the Epicure dealt upon being played. That means Adrian's down to 5 here.
So,
Four.
Other creatures.
So,
down to
Shrapnel
5.
Blast online.
That's right. It was an island, it looks like, to follow up there for Jose.
Yeah, that was the find from the Beseju.
Okay. So that does leave him access to potential Spell Pierce as some way to defend himself.
Yep.
Because otherwise, you know, he kind of went all in there.
Yeah, and, you know, if Adrian has something here and there's no Shrapnel Blast, you could definitely stabilize. That's a 1-2, that's a 2-1, a 1-1 and a 2-1. You have a 1-2, you can block.
Is that an Archdu's Charm there?
Sure is. There's
Oh, and there's a Spell Pierce for it from Jose.
It's counter.
Oh, that's tough for Adrian.
Yep.
He's not dead on board, but he's darn close.
Yeah.
Jose doesn't need much to finish this game. Shrapnel
Shrapnel
Blast will
Blast,
do
yeah.
it, and Soul would do it.
It's like Ensoul. Yep.
And there's an Ensoul. Blood token plus the 2 creatures getting in. Chump block the blood. He goes down to 2. Does he have anything else?
Not yet.
Okay, so it wouldn't actually do it. Oh, wow. So Adrian gets to untap again. That's huge for him.
Yes and no.
You have to wonder what Jose has in hand, though, don't you?
Yeah, and... Oh.
Uh-oh,
Okay,
here
all
comes
right.
the mana counters.
I don't have the most faith here, but floating mana, if you start off with a Lotus Field, you know, there could be hope, but one of the key pieces that Adrian had the previous game was the Vizier in play when this started happening. Having to chump with the Voyaging Satyr there makes this a lot tougher.
Hidden strings.
He's got hidden strings.
All right.
Does that open up the door for him to have a chance here?
He has enough mana for a Pour over the pages now. Pour can accomplish a lot.
And he has that too. Okay, Jose just has to hold his breath, although he is sitting on the 2 lands there. I think he's got, what, 1 or 2 cards in hand? Maybe just the 1 for Jose?
1 card. And
1 card. It must be nothing.
yeah, you can feel pretty confident there's nothing there. If it was burn, you'd be dead already. If it was a counter, that Pour would have gone and countered, for sure. So now the question is, can you live?
Can you win this turn?
I think that's a tall order, given what I've seen of the hand.
Okay.
I believe with the Otawara that is available to Adrian, plus the Arboreal Grazer, in theory, Adrian could play Grazer, use Otawara to bounce that blood token, and go to 1 by taking the Epicure's damage. So in theory, he has a way to survive through this next attack, assuming Jose has nothing.
Okay, this time Adrian did discard to his Pour. And there's a Grazer, and he's just going to pass the turn back, but he has left lethal. What does he have, 4 mana available for Adrian?
4 mana and Otawara in hand.
So it looks like Otawara.
There's
And there's a Shrapnel Blast. Sacrifice it, go upstairs, and that's going to be game number 3 incoming here between these, as you put it, Monty, 2 ships passing in the night. It looks like a mulligan here for Jose. Also of note, Adrian's going to be on the play once again.
Yeah, importance of play draw cannot be overstated in this matchup.
Right, huge, huge. We saw Jose have basically the perfect draw game 1 and lose anyway.
Jose does have a Shrapnel Blast in hand and has, once again, the 1-drop enabling the Ensoul. So if he has the turn 2 Ensoul here, despite the mulligan, this could still be a very fast clock with that Shrapnel Blast.
There's Voyaging Satyr now for Adrian. So he could have big mana next turn. And is there an Ensoul already for Jose? When he's had it prior, he kind of just slammed it and started jamming. I mean, if you had it here, you wouldn't consider holding up a counter over just getting it going, would you?
I don't think you can ever afford to do that as the Ensoul deck.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there might be, depending on the makeup of Jose's hand, he might be making a decision here. Do I have to Shrapnel Blast this Voyaging Saber?
Oh, wow.
It's not a play you want to make, but it might be a play you have to make, especially if your hand is more reactive.
Good call, Monty. That's exactly what happens here. He's got to slow down Adrian, take away that explosive potential if there is. The Lotus Field awaiting on the other side. And there was a Lotus Field waiting on the other side. It's going to hit the battlefield here, but thanks to that play from Jose, it's just going to sit there tapped for now. But there's no pressure yet from Jose. That's the problem.
Yeah, Jose should feel about as good as you could possibly feel with a Lotus Field on the other side. If he has the Reckless Bushwhacker here, which, all right.
Oh, there we go. Looks like I spoke a little bit too soon about the whole no pressure thing. All of a sudden, there's 4 extra creatures on the battlefield. They all have haste, and they're getting +1/+0.
10 damage, Marshall.
Out of nowhere.
This is the beauty of the Ensoul deck, is you have a lot of different cards that combo together. When you can draw them together, the deck looks incredible. This looks dominant.
This is crazy.
When you draw mismatched halves, it can sometimes be a little awkward. But right now, Adrian is in a lot of trouble, especially if Jose has another Bushwhacker or another Shrapnel Blast in hand.
Can he finish the deal? There's 4 mana waiting for him for Adrian. He just played a land and passed.
Is there a second Bushwhacker?
Spyglass Siren?
All right, I think that's the map token being activated on the Bushwhacker.
Okay. And he sees a Voldaren Epicure there.
7 damage is what I count. 7 is not 9.
No.
And Adrian can copy a Lotus Field.
And every turn, it just, you never want to pass back. So he is going to apply the maximum amount of pressure that he can. But that's only the creatures on board. And as you said, Monty, that's not enough to get the job done here. And Adrian gets to untap with double Lotus Field.
No burn spell.
Can he take advantage of it? Yeah, he didn't just die right away, so.
Is that last card a Spell Pierce or a Negate? I think it has to be if Adrian has the pieces to do it.
Okay, he's going to cycle a Vizier. Does this allow him to play around Spell Pierce?
1 blue floating.
Like if there's a pour, for example?
Yes, right now he has the mana to pay for Spell Pierce. Jose's list only has 1 Negate total.
He really needs it. No, he just said, okay, sure.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
As you said, this usually doesn't go well.
Oh.
Pour over the pages, discard something, untap these things.
We're in ultimatum range now.
And another one. Do it all over again. And Adrian says, is that fine? And Jose said, yes.
If Adrian finds this
about
ultimatum,
it.
nope, 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 nope. Oh.
Okay, how about triple pour over the page? I mean, this is one of the features of it, right? It finds more of itself.
Yes, it is becoming increasingly hard for Adrian to miss, but those last 3 cards weren't offering it, so it is possible, Marshall, that Adrian has missed up to this point. I haven't seen a useful card, so. Oh, black and green. All right, this is going to be the ultimatum. Yeah, all right.
And there it is, Emergent Ultimatum. Is there no response from Jose? There's nothing. And he just says, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so close. He got him down to 2. He had that huge turn.
It's just a little too slow. Play draw, Marshall.
Yeah.
Play draw.
Definitely.
And Jose played this game so well. Using that Shrapnel Blast on the Voyaging Satyr gave him a shot.
It did. And that was taking some serious medicine for him.
Yeah.
Because he thought about it for a while, but he came to the same conclusion that you did, Monty, that he just couldn't afford to pass the turn back without doing so. You really hope that, you know, that type of card goes upstairs or finishes the game for you. But he just took the bitter pill, got rid of it, and put himself in a position to win this game thanks to the next turn with the Bushwhacker. But it looks like he's going to come up just short as Adrian is set to completely go off here with these inevitable piles that form from Emergent Ultimatum.
Yeah, looking at Jose's face,
Does he look happy, thrilled?
He doesn't look upset, which is in my opinion, a great sign for any Pro Tour player, because this is frustrating. This is a frustrating game to be this close and be losing. But he is showing the stoicism of a player that belongs in this position.
Right.
4-0 at the Pro Tour, locked for day 2. Yes, this is a rough match to lose. If you do lose, it's pretty close to a foregone conclusion, but by no means a guarantee. But if you do lose, he looks like he is going to recover from it pretty easily, in my opinion, and come back stronger.
He looks tough.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be, did you enjoy this match?
Imagine if the game just ends and the judge just drops a smiley face, frowny face on the table in front of you.
So he actually got rid of the omniscience out of that pile.
Yeah, there was an argument that you put the pour over the pages back and hope hidden strings plus omniscience, your opponent's hand is dead. But your opponent's not getting that pile if their hand is dead.
Yeah, this can't be fun to sit in Jose's seat, but Adrian, hey, this is what you signed up for, right? And yeah, sometimes you cut it close, but you get to have the fun.
Yep.
Now he gets to cook.
Lotus Field, especially in matchups like this, it is a deck that wins through very close margins. Once you start winning, when you're in this position, it is a dominant win, even if it does take a long time. This Dark Petition can get Leer with this amount of mana and that graveyard. It should be pretty close to a guaranteed win. This Dark Petition could go grab Fairy Mastermind and then use, not Mastermind, excuse me, Fae of Wishes. And the Fae of Wishes can go to your sideboard, get another Emergent Ultimatum if you want. But it could just be Omniscience because your hand has everything.
There's Spell Pierce.
That's a Lotus Field, though.
And that's a Lotus
Yeah,
Field.
okay. And just show the hand, say, I have Fae, I have Emergent Ultimatum.
I'll get Fae of Wishes, get Approach, cast Approach, then Ultimatum Approach, 2 cards, and get to Leer.
Yeah.
All right, he and Adrian there, this is a fairly typical thing that you can do in live Magic, you know, that you can't do online, which is to show the cards. You do have to do that part, right? And then say, I'm going to do this, and the person says, okay, I get it. You know,
and
get it.
Jose said, tell me what you're doing. I see the cards, but what are you doing? And Adrian explained it sufficiently. That was the combo. That was the win. It was inevitable. And a really impressive, tight match for Lotus Field.
That was an approach to the Second Sun victory.
It was.
As described.
Yeah.
There are other ways you can win, of course, but that was just the one that he chose for that one. It's impressive, man. You know, even under particularly games 1 and 3, intense pressure from Jose, he was able to go off anyway. Yeah,
Pioneer is a format of close matchups and very close margins, and I think we just watched exactly why, how much of a difference play draw could make in that match. And in all 3 games, it was this close for the other player to win.
You said it when we came into the match, and boy, did it play out just like that. All right, that's a win for Lotus Field. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Pardee versus Rozakeas. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Murders at Karlov Manor. Marshall Sutcliffe with Mani Davuti, and we are in the booth here covering a little bit of Pioneer for you. And we know you've wanted to see it. There is a breakout deck, although we have to see if it's good yet, but it's definitely exciting to see something new on the scene, and that is Rakdos Vampires. This is Team Channel Fireball bringing that to the table. So in this case, it's Sam Pardee who has it in his hands. And then across the table, interestingly, is Socrates Rozakeas, who's playing the normal version, if you will, of Rakdos, Rakdos mid.
Yeah, absolutely. Rakdos Midrange, the third most played deck in the tournament, and definitely, you know, a very known entity. On the other side, Rakdos Vampires, the unknown entity, and sort of on brand for Team Channel Fireball throughout its different iterations and throughout the years. They're known to bring decks that people aren't expecting. Sometimes they're hits, a la Cobblade. Sometimes they're misses, a la Blue-Green Karn, for those that remember that fiasco. So it's yet to be determined which side of that coin this Vampires list that the CFB team of current day has brought falls.
Yeah, and this will be an interesting way to contrast these decks against each other, because, you know, the Rakdos mid-range deck is kind of the basis for some of the cards that made it into the Vampires deck. It's like a twist on the norm. And by the way, you see one of the big cards there, Vein Ripper, up on the top. It's getting thought seized, or something's getting thought seized here, but that's one of the cards that's kind of a reason to play this. You see the Preacher of the Schism there too. It's another new addition.
Yeah, Vein Ripper plus Imperious Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. That is the combo that sort of makes this deck what it is. So if you are able to get the two together, which isn't the easiest ask against a discard-based strategy like Rakdos Midrange, then it is incredibly powerful. Most decks don't have great answers to the Vein Ripper, certainly not without cost. This build of Rakdos mid from Socrates has a few. There's Bitter Triumph, there's some copies of Invoke Despair, but at the moment, without a Sorin in Sam's hand, that Preacher of the Schism is a much bigger problem.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to get thought seized away here, and that means that turn 2 for Sam Pardee, not great. He got in with a Mutavault, and that's about it. There's the Blood Tithe Harvester there for Socrates on the other side.
He didn't mention the trigger, just waiting for a judge to get them the token.
Okay. And we see Fatal Push to take down, and then as well, another attack from Mutavault. Hey, you might as well chip in. I mean, he's down to 14.
Yeah, your opponents dealt 2 to themselves using that Saucy. So the damage is adding up here. Cavern of Souls, one of the cool things that you get to play in this Vampires deck, gives you a bit more game against a deck like Azorius Control.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Nothing here from Pardee.
Yeah, I think you really don't want to expose your Mutavault to a potential Fatal Push from Socrates, especially because Sam and Socrates are both aware that that Vein Ripper is still in Sam's hand.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a Fatal Push, you don't want Socrates to have a good target for it, like a Mutavault to push the Vein Ripper further behind.
Okay. And as you see, Sam did have at least something in mind for this turn, you know, with the 4 mana floating around.
On tap, okay.
He had his single copy of Takenuma.
That gets the Preacher back, and because that was at the end of Socrates' turn, Sam could go clear the way, then Preacher.
This is a nice setup as well. If he is going to try to play the Preacher this turn, he may as well try to clear the way with a Duress. Is he going to be able to do so? I see a Fatal Push up there.
There were 2 copies, 1 got taken. They were the only non-lands in the hand, so there is a Fatal Push left. At the moment, Socrates doesn't have a way to trigger Revolt or turn Revolt on to actually kill the Preacher as a 3-drop creature. There is access to a Castle Lochthwain there in the land, so Socrates is able to pick up more lands here to sort of smooth out the hand, I believe, if he's willing to pay the cost. But there's a lot of cards in hand, and Socrates is pretty low on life if he activates that.
Yeah.
That's like 4 damage coming back.
Totally. So
5.
now the Preacher's going to hit. It's safe, at least currently. Sure. Well, there's a little bit of business for you. A little Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, but Sam is going to untap and play Vein Ripper here, Marshall.
Definitely.
And I don't know what Socrates does from this current position.
I mean, that's kind of the problem, right? If you land a Vein Ripper, whether it's here on turn 6 or if you get it down on turn 3, there's not a lot of great answers for it that don't at least leave you feeling like I got behind somehow, some way.
Sam, the player with the higher life total, so getting the draw a card ability from the Preacher. And Socrates really under a crunch now. The Goblin Shaman will give him a treasure to turn on Revolt, if nothing else, to kill the Preacher, but that's probably going to cost him 4 life in the exchange, so that's not great. This Fable gives him 2 new cards for those lands, but the number of answers to this Vein Ripper, again, not high in this deck. I think cleanly, there's 3, and...
Wow, that's it?
Yeah.
So they're really geared down small.
1 Bitter Triumph, 1 copy of The End, and then 2 Invoke Despairs, but those aren't really clean, because first you need to get rid of the Preacher.
Right.
But here, if you have Invoke Despair, you can attack, Fatal Push the Preacher. Yes, you lose 4 life, but then the Evoke Despair will get rid of the Vein Ripper, and you can try to rebuild. That Mutavault is a bit of a problem.
Triggers?
Sam blocked.
Yeah, unlike Limited, you're not really worried about damage-based removal here.
Right. Oh, I was thinking about Combat Trick, but...
Only 1 copy of Bone Crusher Giant as well, so you're not going to see 2 of those coming out here to finish off the Vein Ripper.
Right.
Plus, Vein Ripper has Ward Sacrifice a Creature, so Socrates can't even pay that.
Not anymore.
Is this Invoke Despair? That's the big question.
It's 3 mana.
Doesn't look like it.
He's got another.
I think that's just GG. Sam can spin up this Mutavault and attack.
Right.
You're at 8. What are you going to do? Kill my Mutavault? Okay.
Right. Vein Ripper has flying, so it's going to get in.
Would you like to block my Mutavault? Okay.
Right. Yeah, this is what Vein Ripper does. It puts you in a position where you're going to pay some tax to get rid of it if you even have the option. And in this case, that's not even the case.
Vein Ripper is an incredibly busted card.
It's really good.
The only problem with it is 6 daunting mana.
Yes.
In a format that, as we just watched in our previous match, we're talking about turn 4 or 5 decks being too slow sometimes.
Definitely.
So it's not often that you get the opportunity to hardcast it, and you need the Sorin.
And there we go, Sorin plus sack, and the sacrifice will trigger the Vein Ripper, and that is game number 1 going to Vampires. That looked pretty good.
That looked pretty good, and Sam didn't even use Sorin until the end of the game. There was no show and tell-esque combo happening. That was just clean play a 6 drop.
Right.
Game 2 starting.
That was 2 Rakdos mid-range decks going at it, and one of them just had a bigger top end. All right, I assume that's a duress there from Socrates.
I believe that is the Arcane Duress.
Cool, looks cool. So there's a Fatal Push, a Thoughtseize, and a Fable that he can choose from with duress.
Really annoying. 2 copies of the Zealot in this hand.
They're so annoying in this deck.
When you're playing a discard strategy, you see 2 copies of Zealot being like, oh, I'm just going to recoup my cards. Don't worry about me. You're like, ugh.
No problem. I just thought it might be.
They block to save Planeswalkers. They attack for damage. They're really good with Vein Ripper out. They enable the whole Sorin thing.
Yeah. Socrates making sure has all the cards written down before choosing what to take. Wouldn't be surprised to see Fable get taken if you don't have another discard spell. If you do, maybe you take the Thoughtseize and hope Sam doesn't top deck one. But, you know, it's not a great hope.
And he's going to Thoughtseize as well, Sam. And he also drew a 2-drop for the turn. He drew a Blood Tithe Harvester for next turn.
Yep. Shieldred, Harvester, Bitter Triumph, Bankbuster, but only 2 lands.
You know, a lot of times you'll see players take the next relevant play, but Bankbuster with just 2 lands, is that... Are you okay if that becomes the place that Socrates dumps a bunch of mana?
I don't think Sam is. Not with his hand. He's a grindy hand right now. He doesn't have the Sorin to be like, hey, I want to prevent pressure with the Blood Tithe Harvester. This is going to be a back and forth bunch of turns. Sam doesn't want Socrates just going, all right, I need my 3rd land, draw a card.
Gotcha. So it was similar to Socrates' choice there. They both just took the most powerful immediate option.
Exactly.
And they're thinking long term.
Yeah, Socrates, if he doesn't find a land drop here, may have to use his Blood Tithe Harvester to trade off with the ability and then sack this blood token trying to find the third land. So really, it depends because he needs to be developing. If he starts falling behind on lands in this matchup while knowing Sam has the ability to draw better and he's stuck with a Shieldred in hand, that's a problem.
There's land number 3 now for Socrates.
How many cards do you have? 4.
And a quick check of how many cards in hand, and it's 4 for Pardee, but as we know, he's going to be able to keep the cards flowing thanks to those Dusk Legion Zealots.
16 all, and then soon I'm going down to 13.
All right, well, the boards are clear on Sam's side. He's just got a blood token. On the other side, it looks very much the same, except for there's a Blood Tithe Harvester hanging around.
Yeah, Bitter Triumph, costly, but when you're the aggressor, you don't mind paying the life, and that does clear off the way. So now Socrates feels confident that he's the one with the creature on board. Not sacking the blood token, so pretty confident he's going to hit the 4th land drop, wanting to save that blood as removal with the Harvester maybe.
Harvester's going to get in for 3. Down to 9 goes Pardee.
So 8 to 17, right? 17.
That's a Graveyard Trespasser coming out from Socrates. So opting not to deploy the Shieldred there, wanting to make sure that if Sam does have a Fatal Push, I don't think Socrates knew about it from the duress, but Sam does have one in fact.
Okay.
It'll be costly to remove the card he plays rather than sack this blood token, kill your Shieldred.
There's another land drop now from Pardee as he casts a second Dusk Legion Zealot and passes the turn back over to Rozakeas. This has been a good fight. This is a nice mid-range grind fest.
And I think both players knew this was how the game was going to go. They visualized the upcoming turns. You see Socrates really understanding that he's going to be in a position to be the aggressor. Sam's hand of 2 Dusk Legion Zealots, that's going to be costly. They cost you 1 life when they enter the battlefield. So the decision to use the Bitter Triumph on, you know, not the most impressive creature in a Blood Tithe Harvester, that really results in the payoff of Sam now being at 7.
Another attack here from Rozakeas. He's getting in with both creatures. And it looks like Sam is just going to say, look, I already got my value out of these Zealots. I'm going to double block. And Rozakeas says, okay. But down to 4 goes Sam. Pardee takes 3. And he needs something powerful quickly.
Sam has Sorin plus Vein Ripper in hand. The combo is there. I'm guessing because he didn't go for it last turn, he found one of them off of that second Zealot.
Okay. We're at nighttime now, so the Trespasser is going to get even scarier. Sam Pardee up a game against Rozakeas, but up against it this game.
Graveyard Trespasser is such an annoying card.
It really is, isn't it?
Just the combination of words on it just make it a pain to play against.
Yeah, it's like, let me cook, you know? Leave me alone, Graveyard Trespasser.
All right, this is the combo.
And there we go, Vein Ripper on the battlefield. Sam down to 3. I think he may have another Dusk Legion Zealot, and he's wondering if he should go to 3. Is that possible?
I don't think you can afford to. I think you have to leave up the Fatal Push in your hand.
Okay.
You have the blood token to activate the Revolt on it anytime you need. I think this is a position where you just have to play it safe.
And there's this, the Shieldred is kind of looming over this game the whole time, right? Like making it so that Sam can't leave himself without those type of answers.
And it's known information right there at the top of Sam's life total note board there, Shieldred. So he knows that Socrates is representing that. The dance around Socrates not playing it is something that both players are aware of as this match continues.
Which is awesome. I love this stuff. That was Castle Lochthwain being activated there by Rozakeas as well. As he has been the aggressor, he's got a little life total to play with.
Yeah, this is a game where Castle Lochthwain definitely shines because Rozakeas has kept his life total up. Up to this point, the Vein Ripper wasn't on the battlefield and he can afford to do it. Soon, if Sam survives through the turn, which he most likely will, that won't be the case. This Vein Ripper starts chunking. There's no little bits. It's chunks of damage.
Oh, it's chunks, all right. Yeah. By the way, chat says Vein Ripper needs lifelink. Not good enough.
Oh, okay. All right. Andrew Brown, you watching?
Is it too late?
I'll pass on the note.
Is it too late to make an adjustment?
We'll do it in alchemy.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That'll make everybody happy. Okay, so a good turn for Socrates, though. Interestingly, 2 longer-term value cards, we'll call it.
Yeah.
He's not pushing through any damage via these cards.
We're back to daytime. And Marshall, do you want lifelink? Because
I want lifelink.
Let me tell you about Sorin Imperious Bloodborne.
I want lifelink, yeah.
Okay, well, +1/+1 counter if it's a vampire. Lifelink until end of turn.
I'm interested.
So, did we want lifelink? We got that. We have lifelink ready for you.
Especially if my opponent's tapped out.
All right, well, this is going to be a 14 life swing happening here.
Wow.
And unless Sam has lethal.
I'm going to sack a vampire.
I think he has lethal.
Sack this to deal 3 to that.
Oh, okay.
Which triggers Vein Ripper. I'm going to discard a swamp to the ward. So Vein Ripper triggered from this one dying.
And then that one's going to die and trigger again.
Yep.
It does count all creatures, including itself and creatures on the other side.
Sure does. That's the first drain, 13/5.
Yeah.
This deck is so cool, Marshall.
This is sweet stuff. Man, Sorin. Remember when he was really good and it's like everybody forgot? Or
the card has always been really good. The problem is Champion of Dusk wasn't cutting it.
From Sorin's, so I go to 8.
What Sorin was able to put into play fell off in the format.
Okay.
So Sorin has been exactly as good as it's always been. It was just waiting for a better vampire, and Vein Ripper is here.
So there's a big attack for 6. Down to 5 goes Socrates. This race has swung violently in the other direction.
This is
and
absolutely
Sam just
outrageous.
says go. You see the Mutavault sitting there as well. He's kept up the blood token plus the fatal push activation forever.
Yep. I think Sam was exactly 1 removal spell away from just ending the game that turn, which is incredible.
What a huge swing.
To think that Socrates was so in control of this game as the Rakdos mid player, and then Sorin, Vein Ripper. Let's try this now.
I mean, this so far has been exactly what it's been advertised to be. That combo,
yep,
you know, gives what is the shell is a reasonable mid-range black-red. You know, you give up a few things that Socrates has access to that Sam doesn't, but not that much, and you just get this.
It really is the real deal in terms of strength.
You think it's going to do well this weekend overall?
I hope so. I
mean, you've seen the metagame.
It bodes well for it. I want to see it in action. I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't in the Team Child Fireball testing Discord. I didn't get a lot of test matches in with this deck, so I'm still waiting to see how it performs, but the theory crafting is solid.
Very solid. So this is a block from Mutavault, and Sam's real excited to let both of these creatures die, but Socrates said, hold on a second, I may do something before damage happens, but after blocks.
Yeah, Sam asked, where are we?
Yeah.
Great question. Always make sure that both players are very clear
Yeah.
on what phase of the game you're in.
Yeah, both of these players have been really good about that.
I think Socrates may be planning on removing the Vein Ripper and sacrificing the Goblin Shaman token to pay the ward cost. I think Sam actually has a way around that by fatal pushing his own Mutavault to still make it lethal. But all of that would start with Socrates having an answer. So that is really step 1. And, you know, drawing 2 cards usually means you're digging for the answer. You don't have the answer.
Usually does.
Take 4 and I
Oh, and it just happens as a trade. That is really tough.
Yeah.
And that's a 4-point hit on Socrates. He's down to 1. If any creature dies, it's game over. And that's going to be a hand extension. We see Sam Pardee with our first real look here at the Vampires deck, and he won in impressive fashion.
Say his name, Vein Ripper. My goodness.
Yeah.
Look, when the tournament was beginning, when we were doing our prep this week, this was the deck we were talking about as, I don't know what this is. I want to see it in action. I want to see if the theory converts into execution. And so far, the only time we've seen it on camera, it's looked good.
It's looked really good. And, you know, I was in that server, and I've been talking to LSV quite a bit about it because, you know, he hems and haws as he comes up. And, you know, not that long ago, he was like, I think I'm going to play Lotus Field. And he felt pretty strongly about it. He's like, I think I'm good. I'm on Lotus Field. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to go with vampires. And they really showed me some cool stuff, you know, from doing the testing with this deck. And he's like, I feel actually really good about it. And, you know, he had tested with the deck, but that's a relatively late game change.
You know who gets the credit for this deck, Marshall?
Is it Reitzel?
Paul Reitzel.
I love that.
Imagine. Hall of Famer Paul Reitzel is the catalyst behind this team. I really hope they continue winning with this because it is so cool to watch.
It is really cool. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, though, we'll be back in the news desk with Maria. Don't go anywhere.